Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome.
This is not very easy for me. As we have been speaking now so much of death, it's funny because since I arrived, a lot of questions were arising where I thought I could ask you this, I could ask you this, and now it very strongly came up that I started a spiritual practice 20 years ago because I was very, very much afraid of dying.
Mm-hmm.
And lately, this fear of death has been coming up very strongly again. And I felt very, frustrated and depressed a little bit because I thought, wow, all those years of practice and suddenly...
Right, here I am again.
Here
right?
I am again.
I haven't escaped the fear of death. Yeah.
And the two persons that spoke before me encouraged me to come and talk to you about it. And well, of course, the question arises: what can I do about it?
About the fear?
Yeah, it's...
Oh, dive in. This is perfect. Really, I very much mean that. The whole notion of death is a beautiful and very potent spiritual awakener, right? You know, Ramana Maharshi, when he had his awakening, it came because of fear of death. As you know, a close relative died, and he thought, wow, death, now it's real for him. And he just had to find out what it was like. So, of course, as you know, he laid on the floor and imagined what would happen if I died. And that led to his awakening, because death, even the idea of death, it takes away everything we're identified with, right? The body will go, thoughts will go, imagination will go, self-image will go. I'm a good person, I'm a bad person, I'm a smart person, I'm not smart, man, woman. It's all, death takes it all away, doesn't it? And from the mind, this is terrifying, because it's like, this takes me away. And of course, death does take away the egoic self, because the egoic self only exists in mind. So the egoic self is very, very afraid of death. But of course, egoic self really isn't much of a self at all, right? But if you just imagine, or start to really look at, right? Body gone, mind gone, feelings gone, memory, so no past, no future, all falling away. What's left?
Awareness.
And what's that like? What's the sense of that awareness?
Well, right now when you ask me the question, it feels very light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, has no weight.
There's no weight, right? So, death actually points towards awareness, towards consciousness, right? Because death takes everything away except what's essential. All form temporarily subsides. but it reveals what you really, really, really are, right?
It seems to me that I read many times this story, or not story, he told it himself, Ramana Maharshi, this...
Yes.
When he had this fear of death, and I read it many times, and I felt very envious. And it seems to me that there is this moment where I lack trust or something in, when this fear of death comes up, and there is a resistance then, and that makes me very sad.
Mm. The fear comes up within awareness.
Yes.
You see? Life arises within awareness. Death arises within awareness, within consciousness. So if this fear comes up, you just used to see fear is arising within this consciousness, this awareness, the same awareness that life arose in. And the same awareness that's there before form, during form, after form,
Yeah, it's true. When I listen to you, I just realized that when that fear comes, I narrow the space on the fear. I narrow it. And this is why I cannot see anymore that it's arising in consciousness. I lose that perspective.
That's why I'm just reminding you.
Yes.
Because of course, remember, we're taught, and we're in many ways biologically hooked up. When fear arises, it rallies all the inner resources, right? And focuses them on the fear, on the object of fear, right? Now, I don't know if I should go into this, but biologically, that's a good thing. If you're out in the Serengeti, and you see a lion 10 feet away from you, and you get a good surge of fear and adrenaline to get the hell out of there, that's going to save your life. But we're not on the Serengeti, and there are no lions, and you can have this extraordinary fear when you're like just sitting or standing in a room like this, right?
Yes.
Where there's nothing that's happening. There's actually no biological threat happening whatsoever. And our mind is so powerful, it can create imagined scenarios that can scare you just as much as if you were on this plains of Serengeti and there was a real tiger there.
Yeah.
Right? And all I'm reminding you is, even though the fear can arise, there can be the moment of remembrance when you just recognize, this fear is arising within awareness. And that itself keeps the mind from grasping the fear and identifying with it. And you see, because there's no solving a dream, is there? Mm-hmm. There's nothing you can tell the mind that's going to solve the dream.
No.
Except to say, it's just a dream. Your mind's scaring you. That's all it is. It's a temporary waking nightmare. Right? And if you know that, you go, it's just something else. It's the next thing that's arising within awareness. And in that moment, in a certain sense, you then experience death while you're alive. Because the greatest death is the not being identified with form. That's death. Ego's afraid of that. Right? That's why people often get very afraid right before they're going to have a big spiritual shift. They get obsessed with death, or with I'm going to be devoured, or the infinite's going to crush me, or I'm simply going to have a heart attack and fall over. But very often, when we're right in the midst or very close to a real shift of consciousness, the fear arises, fear, and especially fear of death, because it's the ego sensing that consciousness is literally leaving its domain and experiences that as death. Yeah. And that's the death. That's the death while you're alive, while you're standing right there, you know? And you just let the thing die. And you realize it was just a thought. Ultimately, death's a thought. Really?
Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. Okay. Enjoy yourself, alive or dead. Okay.